Colombia, un poquito, que me interesó. Vamos a ver más ferias aquí en Arizona también, ahora que hay más y más que tienen inyecciones, quizás será posible. Habrá una fiesta aquí en Fountain Hills. No voy. Personalmente no voy, aunque recibí mi segunda inyección, no voy a ir porque habrá montones de personas y no quiero mezclarme con todo el mundo, sin tapabocas y todo eso. No soporto a estar en una muchedumbre. I can't take being in a crowd yet. Ok, pero ella nos dijo que valió la pena. It was worth the effort. Vale la pena en presente quiere decir it's worth the effort. Literally, it's worth the pain. Vale la pena. Pero en el pasado valió la pena. It was worth it doing that. Valió la pena. Bueno, a ver, en Bogotá, viven ahora en Bogotá, es algo diferente para ellos. Los dos salieron para vivir quizás un año, quizás dos en Bogotá, cerca de la familia de María, claro. Y bueno, entonces, después de esto, que no tiene nada que ver con gramática, que no tiene nada que ver con películas ni lecturas ni nada, vamos a empezar con algo más. Vamos a practicar un poquito con subjuntivo, pero con subjuntivo el imperfecto. El imperfecto. Y vamos a empezar con un poquito de dónde está, está aquí. Simplemente la formación nada más para que entiendan, just so you understand how this forms. Now, it will be hard for you to use this at first, but our objective at this point is just for you to understand how to form it and to use it in some very set, prescriptive, easy to call to mind situations, okay? And I think Roy got booted out because of the video. Desgraciadamente. Ok, aquí viene. Vamos a ver cómo se forma. I am not showing this whole video. We are going to just see formations so that you kind of get your mind around this again, because he's going to put it in a very framework kind of context. And after that, we're going to see something which I just found recently. I think it's rather new because I'd never seen this before. Roy, I think my video booted you out. Hopefully, when I show this next one, it does not boot you out as well. If it does, come back on in. Okay, he's just going to force you the formation. Now I'm going to kind of show you there are two past subjunctives, and he's going to tell you they're equal. And all right, he's got a PhD and I don't. He's kind of right, but in point of fact, people use the first manner more. The other one is more of what we would call a literary tense. I will say that the second formation of past subjunctive, you do hear people speaking conversationally from time to time in Spain. But I can tell you with pretty good level of certainty that people just don't use that literary form very much. But you should know that it's out there, just so you know it's out there. Because you may see it in writing. You may see it on a web page someplace. Nunca se sabe, you never know. So we're going to look through only a part of this video to see that formation. And then we're going to see some things in context. And you're going to hear some dialogue using it. And okay, we'll get to that in a moment. Momentito. Tengo que usar share screen. Okay, aquí está. Here it is.
How we can use it. Now let's talk about how we put it all together. Now before, when we talked about subjunctive,
we're just going to look at the formation part because the reasons for using it are legion. Here we go. We're going to get up to his chart.
Since this is kind of ongoing in the past, we're actually going to use the third person plural in the preterite. Right. We're going to use the third person plural preterite down there at the bottom right in the preterite.
Okay, so what he's going to talk about now is what we use as the base to form the past subjunctive. Okay, the past subjunctive is not the preterite tense, but we take one form out of preterite tense as our base word. Just as in with present subjunctive, we start with yo in presente, and that's our base to take that word like digo, yo, digo, and that digo becomes our base. We get rid of the o and we use the opposite vowel and we get to diga, digas, diga, digamos, digan, okay? So this is going to be the same process, but for past subjunctive. And as we use yo in presente to create, uses our base and then create past subjunctive, we're going to take pretérito, the él or ellos, ellas, ustedes form in pretérito, just to create the past subjunctive. So that's why he's focusing on this part of the chart.
That's the one that we have to take as our root for the imperfect subjunctive, okay? Now we're going to take that root, and what we're going to do, remember it usually ends with ron, like empezaron, right? Hicieron. We're going to take off that ron, R-O-N, at the ending of it. We're going to take that off, and that is going to be our root, okay? Now, once we get that, we're going to add some endings to it. Now, I want to go ahead and tell you something. This is kind of strange, but in this tense, we actually have two sets of endings. And yes, you can use either one. So I'm going to show you examples with both sets of endings today, okay? So let's put our chart up here and let's look at those endings. First of all, ra, R-A, up in the yo form. The next one is ras, R-A-S. After that is ra again, R-A. Then over on the right, we've got nosotros form would be ramos.
And I'm going to pause here, ramos, but imagine an imaginary accent mark on whatever vowel is in front of that ramos. That's what really happens. Okay, like dijéramos, hiciéramos. So there's really an accent mark on whatever vowel comes in front of this R from ramos.
You can probably guess the next two, rice and ran. Now, those are our endings we're going to use to put on that third person preterite, plural preterite verb. Okay, I know you're going, wow, this is getting crazy here. That's all right, we'll figure it out. Okay, now here are a couple examples for you. The yo forms in the imperfect subjunctive. To speak, for example, hablara. Okay, so we took that third person preterite, hablaron, we took off the ron and we added ra to it. So hablara. The verb hacer, to do or to make in this tense. We've got hicieron, down here the third person plural preterite, hicieron, took off that ron, and now we're putting ra, hiciera. There's the yo form of to do or to make in this tense. Let's do one more. Let's do translate, okay? Traducir, traducir. And the past tense, we'll take that third, is T-R-A-D-U-J, all right? So it's going to be tradujera, tradujera. All right, I know this is a little strange, but don't worry, you'll get it. Now I want to give you the other set of endings.
Okay, and here we're just going to look at what they are because I don't want to focus on these.
We said
Because
hablara.
you're going to see these. Uy, ¿dónde?
Sen.
Okay. You're going to see these in writing more than you hear them, people speaking using them. So I want you to know that's out there. But in my personal experience, I don't hear people using this. I occasionally on videos hear people from Spain using this speaking, but Latin America, never, never. Okay, so, you know, we would start with decir, dijeron, we take off the ron from dijeron, and we would have dijese, dijeses. You don't hear that. You hear dijera, dijeras, dijera. Okay, so this you may see on occasion. I'll give you the link to this so that you can look, because he's going to go through a lot of depth of all kinds of reasons, and that is more than one can reasonably do in one day. Because in order to get comfortable with this, you really, really need to practice it. And so our objective is going to be to take not a whole bunch of rules and try to just stuff that down your gullet, because that's not something that's easy to use. Then we're going to take some limited examples of reasons, typical reasons you might use in a conversational way. And once you learn some set patterns, it becomes easier to use that one set pattern. So rather than a whole bunch of rules, take one thing, use it a bunch of times, and try to think of some examples later this week when you might use it. Okay, we're going to start with the C clause bit, because the C clauses are very easy to figure out, and they are very formulaic. They're a formula. And the C clauses will use this past subjunctive. And sadly, in all the movies we've watched, and the movies you will watch, you're going to hear this come up over and over and over again. So this was an interesting take on this, and my pardon to the entire medical profession, because it is going to focus on the medical profession, but in a rather unusual way for the American mind, at least. Y vamos a empezar con if clauses. And again, I will give you the link for this later to look at again if you want time to kind of digest it. The nice thing about this site, which I had not seen before, so I think it's rather new, is that it goes through some step-by-step things, and then it gives a rolling conversation where you hear it used, which I really, really like. So after we take a look at this, we're going to set up some, artificial, some prompts, but they're not that artificial. They're things that people do tend to talk about. And after looking at this whole set, we'll have you guys actually practice in some smaller groups. Uy, aquí, ¿dónde está? ¿Dónde está? ¿Dónde está? Está aquí, por aquí. It's right on over here.
Hola amigos, ¿cómo están? Welcome to the fourth lesson on the imperfect subjunctive. In this lesson, you will learn and practice how to use the imperfect subjunctive in conditional or if clauses. You'll also follow along as Raúl, who wasn't sure about undergoing surgery at the hospital, looks for a second opinion on his illness by visiting a curandero, a healer or a holistic doctor. Curanderos are extremely popular in Mexico, and there are all different types. In this lesson, our curandero named Tonatiu is a holistic doctor who provides his patients with herbal treatments, massages, and introspection techniques to cure their illnesses. Sounds interesting, right? But first, let's review how to use the imperfect subjunctive in if clauses.
Okay, I am not promoting curanderos, so please, por favor. It is true, however, that there are a lot of people who do go by curanderos. It is very, in Latin America especially, kind of a popular thing. You know, I guess it probably is not as scientific as going to the physical therapist. I'm not going to say that, but, you know, there are certain elements of folk medicine that come in with this. So I'm not going to say head on out to your local curandero, but it would be a thing culturally that people would follow in certain areas.
Sí, una arte de
One of the main
de
uses of
brujas.
the imperfect subjunctive not included in our favorite acronym WEIRDO is in conditional clauses or if clauses. An if clause in the imperfect subjunctive is followed by a main clause in the conditional tense. When preceded by see, if, the imperfect subjunctive is often used to talk about hypotheticals. Here's an example. Si no estuviera enferma, iría a la fiesta. If I weren't sick, I would go to the party. As you can see in this example, the verb following see, if in English, is in the imperfect subjunctive, and the verb in the main clause, iría, is in the conditional. The if clause expresses a hypothetical situation, as it is possible yet unlikely that I weren't sick. It's important to mention that the order of the two clauses does not matter, so the if clause can appear first or second. Now, how would you say, if I had more time, I would exercise?
We've got two choices here. Hay dos ejemplos y vamos a escoger un ejemplo como lo correcto. Si tuviera más tiempo, haría ejercicio, o si tendría más tiempo, hiciera ejercicio.
Uno.
Si tuviera más tiempo. Okay, so it's important to know that the si clause, we can flip the order of this. It could be haría ejercicio si tuviera más tiempo. I can switch the order of those or leave it the way you see it on the screen. And it does not matter. The order of the two clauses is completely interchangeable, as they are in English. So the reason we start with this, with a topic that's hard, like past subjunctive, is because it gives you a nice set formula to follow. And this always follows this formula of whatever has the C, the clause that has the C, will be the part that has the past subjunctive. And the other clause will always have conditional, okay? But what order they come in is completely optional. Ok, si tuviera más tiempo, haría ejercicio. También correcto, es también correcto decir haría ejercicio si tuviera más tiempo. Los dos son correctos. So I can invert the order. No importa, it really does not matter.
Before we meet donatiu, let's review the imperfect subjunctive conjugation. Here's an example with a regular AR verb. Yo caminara, tú caminaras, él, ella, usted caminara, nosotros camináramos, vosotros caminarais, ellos, ellas, ustedes caminaran. Now, what is the nosotros form of the imperfect subjunctive of the verb escribir?
Escribiéramos. Número uno.
Escribiéramos. And that's why I said a little imaginary accent mark. Whatever vowel comes in front of the R of ramos, that's what gets the punch. Always. And it always has an accent mark there. Okay, no matter what. Escribiéramos.
How about the tu form of the imperfect subjunctive of the verb tener?
Tuvieras.
Tuvieras. Tuvieras. Okay, vale.
I bet you're impatient to see what happens with Raúl during his visit to Tonatiuh, the most famous curandero of Raúl's region. As a reminder, you'll get plenty of practice with the imperfect subjunctive in if clauses, as well as practice with all the other weirdo verbs that you've been learning so far. But before we do, could you tell me what is the yo form of the imperfect subjunctive of the verb ser?
Ooh.
Fuera, número dos.
Será, fuera, será.
Wow.
Fuera, número dos, ¿no?
Fuera, because it's based on fueron.
Sí.
It's based on preterite, the ellos form. fueron. We rip off the run from fueron and we put on the ra endings. Fuera, fuera, muy común. And this verb is a verb you hear a lot. And by the way, this will serve both for the past subjunctive of ser and the past subjunctive of ir. Yeah, for both, because those are the ser and ir share those fui, fuiste, fue, fuimos, fueron forms. So they're going to share this subjunctive form as well.
Buenas tardes. Hablar con el señor Tonatiu, por favor.
Yo quisiera, ¿no?
Quisiera hablar. I would like.
Buenas tardes. Quisiera hablar con el señor Tonatiu, por favor.
And now they're going to use different, they won't all be C clauses. This one is not a C clause, but this is that really super polite,
Mhm.
overly polite way of saying, I would like to speak, quisiera hablar. And this is a great one to use. This is a great thing to use, again, as a formulaic thing when you're in a restaurant or a store setting. Quisiera with the verb of what you want to do. Quisiera ver el menú, por favor. I would like to see the menu, please.
So Marilyn,
Okay.
why are we using a past subjunctive for that? Quisiera, I would like.
In this case, it's not the C
Conditional.
clause, but it's just, we use it in order to be super polite in this particular example.
Marilyn, am I right? in
It's the
saying-
idea of saying, I would like.
But
Yeah.
why the imperfect?
Why the imperfect subjunctive? It's just what they
Yeah.
use. There's no
Because
reason for me to give.
imperfect implies past, doesn't it?
It does imply past, but in this kind of setup as a request.
Because it is a conditional. It could,
Yeah.
if
It
I
is.
could, I would like to, if I could.
It is, yeah, that would be a good way to think of it. You know, there is a conditional, formerly like conditional tense of querer, querría. But this is just what people use conversationally all the time to say, I would like.
Mhm.
Quisiéramos hablar, we would like to talk.
Sí, como en los ejercicios anticipación significa.
See, so, you know, it's, why isn't it conditional tense? Because this is just what they use in conversation. And I know it's a past thing and you're saying, I would like to, and it's kind of happening now, isn't it? But
But
It's
in our last class, that video where on the electric board, he was separating things in the present and things in the past. Conditional was in the past.
yeah. So when you start to see more C clauses, which you're going to see really, really soon, right? Right. The past subjunctive is used in C clauses because we use conditional in the opposite tense.
Right, but this doesn't seem conditional or past tense to me. in this.
Well, but it is almost a universal opener when you're making a polite request.
Okay,
It's almost always a universal polite opening phrase to say, I would like something. It's not very logical, but it is what they use. Okay.
Entre, por favor. ¿Es usted Raúl? Le pediría por favor que los zapatos no tienen muy buena vibración en mi espacio
Sí,
laboral.
guitarra.
¿Cómo escuchó de mis
Guitarra.
servicios?
Now
guitarra.
here you do see, right, conditional, le pediría, I would ask you
Guitarra.
please that you would do this.
Well,
Guitarra.
you choose.
Guitarra.
So which one is it going to be, do you think? Te quitarás, se quite, se quitará.
Se guitarra.
And he's talking to him politely. So that's going to eliminate something right away.
Ujú.
because he's approaching him as on an usted footing. Notice, le pediría, I would ask you. So we automatically know it can't be that, right? Se quitara.
Entre, por favor. ¿Es usted Raúl? Le pediría por favor que se quitara los zapatos. No tienen muy buena vibración en mi espacio laboral. ¿Cómo escuchó de mis servicios?
Okay, so this is done, and it's, we've got past subjunctive, even though they're talking about what they're doing now, because we've got le pediría, I would ask you, and we always have to match up those past ideas with a past subjunctive. I would ask that you, a different person, do this. And Pat, you had sent me an email about this, that you had seen something where they talk about subjunctive and they say two different people and two different verbs.
Yeah.
And that's one of the common settings in these setups with subjunctive. We have, I would ask that you do this.
Carolyn,
See,
what does it mean that his shoes don't have a good vibration in his labor space?
ni idea. It's a curandero thing. It's a cure thing. You know, it's very new age, I guess I'm gonna say, but it's not really new age.
No, it's not idiom. It's not like, you know, the don't wear shoes here. It's like they don't vibrate well.
Yeah, it gives off
Wait.
bad vibes if you do
No,
that.
yeah, bad vibes, man. Yeah, it's but you know, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that there are probably people who actually do that. You know, this is not like scientific medical science. This is why, Miguel, I knew you would get a laugh out of this, but the ways of them working this in are quite ingenious. So, okay.
Curanderos son muy populares con los étnicos chines también.
Oh, okay.
En
Entonces hay muchas
todo el mundo
culturas.
tiene, no solo China, pero
En Asia,
ethnic chine en Asia, en Malaysia, por ejemplo.
okay. Sí, okay. Tailandia, Vietnam, me imagino, ¿no?
Pon.
Many
Sí.
of Sue I's family goes to see them instead of the regular doctor.
Okay, así es. Pues así es. Okay, so, you know, en muchas culturas es popular tener un tipo de curandero. Entonces, vamos a continuar.
Claro, por supuesto. Gracias por darme una cita tan rápido. Mi mejor amigo Paco me recomendó que le...
Oh, and
No,
this is not a C clause, but it's a past idea. My best bud Paco, he recommended to me that I do this.
Llamara.
Ah,
Llamara.
Que le llamara, que le llamara.
por supuesto. Gracias por darme una cita tan rápido. Mi mejor amigo Paco me recomendó que le llamara.
So we've got a past idea, recomendar, but in the past. Paco, he recommended, he said this to me. He said one person that I should do this, different person. But now because we've got a past idea with recomendó, we've got a past subjunctive. Somebody recommending that somebody else do this thing. When Paco said, go see my curandero, he doesn't know, is Paco going to do that or not?
Mhm.
So that second part, the llamara, I should call, has to go into the past subjunctive because we're matching up with the past idea of recomendó. Recomendó is a trigger. Okay, it's setting us up to say, one person recommends that somebody else does this. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense, right? Makes more sense than the quisiera, yeah?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, yeah, the quisiera is just quisiera, would like,
Yeah, you
It's
just have
just
to
what they
learn
do.
that and memorize it and use it.
It's one of those sad
Exactly.
things that you have to accept it at face value and do it, sadly with quisiera. But this, at least you got a formula you can do.
Paco, claro. Es muy buen amigo mío también. Si no estuviera tan ocupado, lo vería más.
Ah, and here is a classic C clause.
We're not
C. If,
busy.
yeah, if you weren't so busy, lo vería más. I'd see him more.
Fuera. Yes.
We've got
Fuera.
será, fuera, estuviera. Uh-oh.
I'd go with fuera. I don't know if that's right or not.
Estuviera.
Okay, so we've got two camps now. We've got a fuera camp.
Yeah, because it's temporary.
Mhm.
Why do you think it's temporary?
Because he's not always busy.
Well, do we know?
It's
Do we know that?
context. It's
It's
context.
doubt.
It's
Oh,
context
claro.
clues.
Es muy buen amigo mío también.
So now we
Si
had,
no estuviera tan ocupado, lo vería más.
if I weren't so busy, I would see him more.
If you had said fuera, that might mean like he's always a busybody or something. It could
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. Ocupar, ocupado, ocupado quiere decir busy. Busy is considered a state that is quite temporary and not a permanent thing. Okay. Ocupado is always considered a temporary state you're in.
Oh. If it was fuera, he would be possessed.
Yes, quite literally, yeah.
Or he had too
Yeah,
much of
yeah.
that Colombian
Yeah.
coffee.
Un ataque de
Sí.
nervios permanente. Okay, bien. But now it's so interesting. We had two that were both valid subjunctives, but we had to also think about all the words around that and all the words around that. Ooh, that ocupado dictated, oh, this is a fleeting or an occasional, but not a permanent kind of thing, ocupado.
Si no lo... También le diría que no trabaja así de duro siempre, pero le estaría mintiendo. Paco es adicto a su trabajo.
Paco is a workaholic.
Clásico.
Es
Fuera
adicto a
was
su
right.
trabajo. Okay. Sí, nada. Gracias, Cicera. Okay. Oh, and we've got a C clause, like what you're going to do
Mhm.
later.
Yeah.
Conociera.
Conociera, conozco.
Sí.
Conociera.
Conociera. And notice we've got C, and it must have a past subjunctive matching up with diría, a conditional, diría. So a past idea, conditional is considered in that past idea camp, and we need to match it up with
Si no lo
conociera.
conociera, también le diría que no trabaja así de duro siempre, pero le estaría mintiendo.
I'd be
Paco es
lying.
adicto a su trabajo.
Pero leas, estaría mintiendo. I'd be lying. He's a workaholic. Okay.
Bueno, Raúl, cuénteme, ¿cómo puedo ayudarle? Me gustaría que me... ¿Cuál es su problema y qué espera de mí?
This is not a C clause, but it's part of the idea of verbs of emotion require subjunctive. So because this verb of emotion is condicional, I would like, and condicional is in that past camp, me gustaría, I would like you to tell me, is what he is asking. I would like you to tell me. We've got to figure out what to do with contar.
Marilyn, it just occurred to me like quisiera, like quisiera el lomo saltado. It's also an emotion, right? I would want this.
In a way, I guess you could say that. Yeah, it is an
I want
emotional
world peace.
thing.
I know what's going to happen.
Yeah, wanting is an emotion. It's a desire you have. So yeah, we could look at it that way. Yeah, claro. Okay, me gusta. I like that. Ok, me gustaría que me,
Cuente. Cuente.
but gustaría is a past camp. So I need a past subjunctive. Cuente would be okay if it were presente. I could say, me gusta que me cuente. That would be great. But me gustaría que me
Contara.
contara.
Bueno, Raúl, cuénteme, ¿cómo puedo ayudarle? Me gustaría que me contara cuál es su problema y qué espera de mí.
And what you expect from me, right? What you wish from me, but what you expect from me. Que espera de mí. Okay.
Sí, pues verá, Tonatiu, tengo piedras en la vesícula y mi doctora me recomendó que pasara por el quirófano.
That is
Quirófano es operating room. Vesícula es gallbladder. Uy,
Oh,
Oh, wait,
It's gallstone.
matter.
gallstones.
One?
Sufre de piedras en la vesícula. I got gallstones.
So
what
what is bladder? If the bladder down here as opposed to the gallbladder, what's bladder then?
Oh,
I think it's
sería,
Dr. Brenner.
tengo que buscar. I really need to look because my terminology with medicine is not so great. Vamos a consultar a keyword reference porque sabrá, it will know. Okay, regular old bladder, no? Plain old bladder. Bien? No, English definition, no. Queremos aquí, que, ¿dónde está?
vejiga.
Ingle-
Vejiga.
aquí.
Vejiga.
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 Sí. Vejiga. Sounds like veggie. Vejiga. Suena como vegetal, algo vegetal. Vejiga.
Importante
Vejiga.
para mí, porque cuando un paciente dígame que tiene piedras en la vesícula, no quiero pensar de down ahí abajo.
Sí, yeah. And there are a lot of places where those little stones can come. Uy, ay, ay, el dolor. Wow, the pain. Vejiga, bladder. Bladder. Okay. A ver.
Hey, Marilyn, can I ask, is anybody else having a hard time reading your screen?
This one is small, so
I'm
let
talking
me
about
try
every
to.
screen you put up here recently.
Mejor?
Very
Mejor?
difficult.
Better?
Mhm.
Better?
Well, it's just blurry, it's just fuzzy, and so I just wonder if it's an Android versus
Is it fuzzy? Is it fuzzy now?
No, it's
No.
perfect here. It's been
No.
perfect here on this end all,
Okay.
wow.
I just have to remember to put it back to regular size. I'll see if on the, is it small on the video as well, Roy, for you?
It's still illegible, yeah, but
Okay.
keep going. I guess
see
it's,
I'll see if
my
I
Android
can
tablet.
make the video aspect of it bigger as well. Vejiga, ¿verdad? Vejiga. Okay. Bien. Uy, ¿dónde está? ¿Dónde está? Está aquí. Let's see if we can make this a little bit bigger too.
Roy, are you doing this on an iPhone 4?
No. Es
Sorry.
mejor. Is this better, Roy? Es mejor?
Yeah, that's a little better, thank you.
Okay. No, this is good that you tell me because, it appears different to me and it may very well look different to you. Okay. Tenemos que resolver esta forma, decidir la forma. Me recomendó que I think they used pass by, right? Was it pasara?
Sí,
Pasara.
pues verá, Tonatiu, tengo piedras en la vesícula y mi doctora me recomendó que pasara por el quirófano.
Que pasara, bien, ok. Y gracias, Roy. Thank you for telling me. Too
Sin
small.
embargo, no me pareció que mi doctora demasiada atención a mis preocupaciones.
Ooh, okay, now we got a little bit of a problem here because we can't see the text. Okay, so that's the biggest I can make it there. Sin embargo, no me pareció que mi doctora, let's see if we can do that again.
Sin embargo, no me pareció que mi doctora demasiada atención a mis preocupaciones.
I don't think my doctor was paying a whole lot of attention to the things that
cara.
were worrying me.
La cara.
Ujú.
Prestara.
Sin embargo, no me pareció que mi doctora prestara demasiada atención a mis preocupaciones.
Now he's getting his second opinion from the curandero. Okay. A ver,
¿Y cuáles son sus preocupaciones? Le sorprendió que su doctora le... algo tan extremo.
sorprendió es surprise. It's an emotion, a verb of emotion, and it's in past. Le sorprendió. Did it surprise you that your doctor
Recomienda.
recomendara?
Recomendara.
¿Y cuáles son sus preocupaciones? Le sorprendió que su doctora le recomendara algo tan extremo.
Did it surprise you that they recommended something so extreme? Okay.
Sí, si no miedo al quirófano, seguiría esta recomendación, pero le tengo terror. Tengo piedras en la vesícula.
He's terrified of being operated on. And we've got a C clause. Si no
Tuviera.
tuviera miedo. If I weren't so scared out of my gourd about that operating room, I would follow this recommendation.
He is scared.
But I'm terrified.
Sí, si no tuviera miedo al quirófano, seguiría esta recomendación, pero le tengo terror. Tengo piedras en la vesícula.
Ya veo, Raúl. ¿Preferiría que yo le... un tratamiento alternativo?
Would you prefer an alternative treatment?
Diera.
We have to start with dieron, so we get to.
Ya veo, Raúl.
Diera.
¿Preferiría que yo le diera un tratamiento alternativo?
Okay, so like what Pat had read earlier on, would you prefer that I give you? You prefer one person, and it's condicional. Past ideas, so I need a past subjunctive. Would you prefer that I give you different person, but we need subjunctive, and that condicional preferiría is going to dictate what we have to do with a past subjunctive. Ooh.
Eso sería lo mejor. Necesito una segunda opinión.
Marilyn?
Mis dolores se han vuelto insoportables. Necesito un tratamiento para el dolor también.
Okay, sí.
Mi opinión profesional. No pienso que es no pienso que esté una buena idea para recibir
Tratamiento.
de vesículos de un comandado.
Sí, no, sí, estoy de acuerdo contigo.
No esté buena idea.
Realmente, sí. Para mí esto sería casi imposible. Pero, en este caso, C clause, if pudiera.
Usted pudiera, eso sería lo mejor. Necesito una segunda opinión. Además, mis dolores se han vuelto insoportables. Necesito un tratamiento para el dolor también.
The pain has become, I cannot take it, insoportables. the pains have become just untenable. I can't take it. I can't take it anymore is what he's saying. I need a treatment for pain also. Si usted pudiera, if you could, that would be best. Okay, sí. Okay.
Comprendo. Voy a examinarle para ver dónde se encuentra localizado el dolor. Para ver dónde.
Ooh,
¿Es aquí? Sería necesario que se relajara.
Es difícil entender un poquito. That's a little bit harder to hear. Let's hear it one more
Comprendo.
time.
Voy a examinarle para ver dónde se encuentra localizado el dolor. ¿Es aquí? Sería necesario que se relajara.
It would be necessary for you to relax. This comes from relajarse. Relajarse. So we need the se up there.
Comprendo. Voy a examinarle para ver dónde se encuentra localizado el dolor. ¿Es aquí? Sería necesario que se relajara.
yeah, good luck.
Relax, man. I know, see. Okay,
Sí, pero el problema es que no quiero recibir esta cirugía, señor Tonatiu.
guy.
Si no la... ¿Podría morir?
Might I die if I don't get this?
Recibiría.
And ooh, they blank it out. Recibir, to receive, right?
So maybe see,
Recibiría.
Recibiera,
Yeah.
recibieron is what we start with. Recibieron, we take off the ron. Si no la recibiera.
Sí, pero el problema es que no quiero recibir esta cirugía, señor Tonatiu. Si no la recibiera, ¿podría morir?
Ay, pobre. Okay. He's terrified of going under the knife. Okay.
Raúl, en su caso, definitivamente
Let me pause this because we can't see the phrase. Here, aquí vamos. Here we go.
es usted el que tiene que tomar esa decisión. Yo querría que usted, un tratamiento prescrito por mí para aliviar su dolor.
I would like you to follow a prescribed treatment, a treatment prescribed by me to alleviate your pain. And querría is the real conditional. So I would like, he happened to use here querría instead of quisiera. He could have used quisiera, but he used querría, the true conditional. And I would like that you should follow this treatment. Okay, so we need
Yeah.
which one?
Siguiera.
Siguiera.
En su caso, definitivamente es usted el que tiene que tomar esa decisión. Yo querría que usted siguiera un tratamiento prescrito por mí para aliviar su dolor.
Sí. And it's interesting, when you make a decision in Spanish, we don't use hacer to say make a decision. We use tomar una decisión. Definitivamente es usted el que tiene que tomar. You're the one who's got to make this decision. Well, at least in that one, he's kind of right. Okay.
Sí, por favor. ¿De qué se trata?
What's it about?
Paco me recomendó que me sometiera a la operación, pero aún no lo he decidido.
Oh, Paco recommended that I just put myself on the slab there. I submit myself, literally. Que me
Submitiera.
That's a hard verb, yeah. Me sometiera.
Sí, por favor. ¿De qué se trata? Paco me recomendó que me sometiera a la operación, pero aún no lo he decidido.
I still haven't decided, he says. Yeah, Paco recommended that I submit myself to this. Yeah, subject myself to this.
Me extrañaría que su enfermedad por completo sin una cirugía. Pero piense en mi tratamiento como algo complementario, por favor.
Oh, well, at least he's not diving totally off the deep end. Me extrañaría. It would shock me. It would surprise me. It would surprise me. It would strike me as very odd if your illness were to completely disappear without surgery.
That's good.
That's his
Gracias.
escape.
Pareciera.
It would strike me as very odd if his gallbladder didn't blow up.
Yeah. Pero piense en mí. But think about my treatment as something complementary. Oh, yeah. Okay. So which one are we doing here?
Desapareciera.
Desapareciera, because we've got me extrañaría in condicional. So we need to
Extrañaría que
match
su
that up.
enfermedad
with
desapareciera por completo sin una cirugía. Pero piense en mi tratamiento como algo complementario, por favor.
Okay.
Si usted no estuviera tan nervioso, no le recomendaría este remedio. Pero viendo su estado, voy a prescribirle un doble tratamiento.
If you weren't such a nervous Nelly. Yeah. Si usted no
Estuviera.
estuviera tan
Estuviera.
nervioso.
No estuviera
Estuviera.
tan nervioso, no le recomendaría este remedio. Pero viendo su estado, voy a prescribirle un doble tratamiento.
Seeing your state, I'm going to recommend a double treatment.
Sería ideal que usted, mi primer tratamiento de hierbas por las mañanas. Se trata de unas inhalaciones de una solución herbal, acompañadas por respiraciones profundas. Es para ayudarla a relajarse.
Oh, wow. If only this could really cure gallbladder stones.
He
Okay.
has the soft talk, doesn't he?
He does. Yeah, quite a bedside manner he's got. Okay. So if we were to just follow this part, sería ideal. It would be ideal for you to
Hiciera.
que hiciera.
Sería ideal que usted hiciera mi primer tratamiento de hierbas por las mañanas. Se trata de unas inhalaciones de una solución herbal, acompañadas por respiraciones profundas. Es para ayudarla a relajarse.
I'm amazed that deep breathing can cure gallbladder stones. Wow. That's got to be a medical first. Okay.
You'd be
Antes de venir a verles,
Oh,
señor
momento.
Donativo.
I hit the wrong button. Perdón, Miguel. Sí. Un milagro. Okay. And I hit a bad button. Okay. Antes de, let me see if I can back this up. Es gracioso, sí.
Antes de venir a verles, señor Donativo, mi doctora me sugirió que tomara unas pastillas para aliviar el dolor.
Oh, yeah. Before coming to see you, Mr. Donatiu, my doctor suggested to me that I take some pills to alleviate the pain. Y tomara aquí, tomara, ¿bien?
Si su dolor aumentara en los próximos días, puede complementar el tratamiento con mis infusiones de hierbas.
And here he's talking about infusion is typically what we would call a tea. They would often call it an infusion because it's an herbal thing, right? Okay, so if your pain were to increase,
Aumentará.
aumentara.
Si su dolor aumentara en los próximos días, puede complementar el tratamiento con mis infusiones de hierbas.
Okay. Y quizás hay 2 o 3 más.
Además, le sugeriría que me la semana que viene para darle unos masajes curativos.
Okay. Además, le sugeriría, I would suggest to you that you
Visitaría.
oh, yay, ¿qué pasó? Wow. Eso no. Okay. Que me visitara.
Además, le sugeriría que me visitara la semana que viene para darle unos masajes curativos.
Okay. So I would like to suggest that you come for another visit. Of course you would. Okay.
Señor Donativo, usted es tan comprensivo.
You are not comprehensive. This does not mean comprehensive.
Understanding.
Understanding. You're so compassionate and understanding. Comprensivo. Comprensivo is kind of a false cognate. It doesn't mean comprehensive. It means you are so understanding. He feels, it's that soft voice, Miguel. It's that soft voice he's got, yeah. Oh, and now he's going to use this past subjunctive. ¿Qué haría? What would I do if you were not around?
Existaría.
I'm good, a real doctor. Oh, okay.
Existaría.
Existiera.
Existiera.
Doctor Matthew, usted es tan comprensivo. ¿Qué haría si usted no existiera?
Amigo, espero verlo la semana que viene. Ahora puede respirar tranquilo.
Ay.
¿Cómo se dice en español quack, quack, quack?
Now, it would be nice if you paid me.
Actually, there is a word for quack, quack, quack. There is a very pejorative word. Well, let's see. I guess English does various pejoratives too, but matasanos. Matasanos. Killing healthy people. Matasanos is, yeah, it's that thing. So, okay, a ver. Okay, now, you can go back to
Antes de
this
venir a
later.
verle, señor
We had
Tomatiu,
one error.
mi doctora me sugirió que
You see what it does. If you make an error, it brings you back only to the things you got wrong.
Mhm.
So because I got a fat finger thing and just hit like a completely button that went off into the black nothingness of cyberspace, it counted that as an error. So I'll give you the link to this because it is kind of fun to, well, to see those and to see it set in a conversational manner is what is really beneficial. So, okay. Entonces, ¿qué vamos a hacer? Vamos a practicar de manera muy normal, conversacional. What we're going to do is practice in a super conversational way. ¿Dónde están mis apuntes? Sí, cláusulas. Ok. Por ejemplo, esto sería más normal. This would be more normal, but it helps to see an actual example. Ok. Si yo tuviera, vamos a inventar cosas que diríamos en una conversación. ¿Pueden ver? Can you guys see this? Voy a
Sí.
engrandecer un poquito más. ¿Es mejor? ¿Es mejor? ¿Ok?
Sí.
¿Pueden ver? ¿Es mejor, right? Ok. Si yo tuviera, if I had, por ejemplo, si ahorita yo tuviera, si tuviera
Más tiempo.
más tiempo, leería una nueva novela. Si tuviera más tiempo, I would read, leería una nueva novela. Si tuviera tiempo. This is why they call this hypothetical, because I don't have time. But if I had time, I would do this thing. So that second thing, that second action is going to be what goes into the conditional tense, which means we use the whole infinitive. Si tuviera otros ejemplos, si tuviera.
Si tuviera bastante dinero, comería una hamburguesa.
Si tuviera $10 aquí en un buen restaurante, comería una hamburguesa. Bien. ¿Algo más?
Si yo tuviera juventud, visitaría Machu Picchu.
Ah, excelente. Visitaría Machu Picchu. I would visit. Sí. Subiría. Subiría por las montañas en Machu Picchu. Así es. Bueno, otro ejemplo, si tuviera, if I had.
Y tuviera COVID-19,
Uy.
sería afuera de la casa.
Ah, si tuviera coronavirus, no iría a curandero. No iría a curandero. Eso es. Si tuviera otra idea, si tuviera, si tuviera menos gatos caminando en el mostrador de mi cocina, estaría muy contenta. I would be very happy. Si no tuviera una gata caminando por el mostrador. Qué mala gata eres. Ok. Si estuviera, if
You would.
I were something. Si estuviera,
Okay, now on this one, could you say if I were hungry, or does it have to be if I had?
oh, no, si tuviera hambre. That's an odd one because it's one of those verbs that uses tener. Si
Mhm.
tuviera hambre. This would fit into the first one, Pat. Si tuviera hambre, if I were hungry.
Okay.
Si tuviera hambre, abriría la nevera. I would open the fridge.
Okay.
Si tuviera hambre, abriría la nevera para preparar algo. Bien. Si estuviera en las montañas, lo pasaría bien. I would have a good time.
Oh,
Si estuviera en las montañas, lo pasaría muy bien. I would really enjoy myself.
No, Sam.
as I say, si yo estuviera inteligente, este sería más fácil para mí.
Si fuera más inteligente, ay, no seas
No,
así, Esteban, no me digas. Bueno, si estuviera en la playa,
Sí.
si estuviera en la playa, ¿qué haría? What would you do? Si estuviera en la playa, ¿qué?
Nadaría en el mar.
Nadaría en el mar. Excelente, Roy. Si estuviera en la playa, nadaría en el mar. Si estuviera en Los Ángeles,
Yo iría a Disneyland.
Yeah.
iría a Disneyland. Si estuviera en Nueva York,
Okay. Si estuviera let's see, they would. If they were estuvieran aquí, they would. Limpiaría la casa.
limpiaría la casa.
Okay, yeah.
Bueno. Si estuviera en París, comería un croissant. U escargot. Quizás escargot. Ok. No. Bueno, en realidad, si estuviera en París, tomaría un buen vino. Tomaría un buen vino. I'd have a good wine, ¿sí? Si fuera posible, vamos a ver, let's take a look at this one. Si fuera posible, or let's take out the posible. Si fuera rico, if I were rich, si fuera rico o si fuera rica,
Me gustaría trabajar mucho.
ok. Si fuera rica, no trabajaría. Ni un día, ni un día.
Y
Sí.
fuera posible que cuando tratar las piedras del versículo, no tendría un empleado.
No tendría empleo, work.
Empleo.
No tendría empleo. I would not have work. Sí. Bueno, si yo fuera tú, if I were you, this is something we use a lot. Si fuera tú, no iría al curandero. Si yo fuera tú,
Yo iría
Yo pidiera otra forma.
ok, bien. Si yo fuera tú,
No, iría al cine.
exacto, muy bien. Si yo fuera tú, no comería dentro de un restaurante ahorita. Si yo fuera tú, buscaría una cita para la vacuna. Buscaría una cita para la vacuna. I would look for a shot appointment, ¿sí? Si yo fuera tú, no pagaría tanto dinero en una situación, en una tienda, por ejemplo, ¿sí? Si pudiera, if I could, si pudiera, if I could, I would do what? Si pudiera,
entender subjuntivo, ensayaría español.
ok. Bueno, si pudiera, iría a Europa, si pudiera, pero no puedo. Sí,
Si
Si
pudiera,
pudiera. Go ahead.
si pudiera yo cantar,
cantaría,
okay.
cantaría, si pudiera, cantaría. If I could, I would sing, but I can't, so I won't. Ok, vale, bien. Teresa.
Si pudiera viajar, visitaría a Irlanda.
Oh, sí, Dublin. Muy bien. Si pudiera, montaría en bicicleta 30 millas en un día.
Wow.
No puedo. Puedo montar 20, pero es lo máximo. Ok. A ver, si pudiera, if I could. Ok. Sí. Si conociera a alguien famoso, un famoso. If I were to meet somebody, what would you do? Si conociera, qué interesante. Si conociera a Serena Williams, le pediría una lección de tenis. Si conociera a Serena, le pediría una lección de tenis. Si conociera a... Si conociera ¿a quién? Si conociera a alguien famoso, a Tom Hanks. Si conociera a
Dr.
alguien.
Fauci. Dr. Fauci.
Oh, al doctor Fauci. Le agradecería. I would thank him.
Sí,
Le
sí, creo que sí.
agradecería. Ok. Le pediría consejos. I would ask him advice. Algo así. Pueden ver. You can see how that is used. Okay. Vamos a ver. We're going to see. I do want to ask your advice. Quiero pedirles a ustedes, Arisa, would you prefer to have as our readings, because we've only got a couple minutes left, and I want to get your opinions on this. ¿Qué opinan ustedes? Would you prefer to have some articles that are found that are shorter, or something that is more like a book-like form, or do you have no real set opinion one way or the other?
A mí me gustaría artículos.
Artículos?
Cortos.
Pero cortos. Yeah. The difficult thing with the books is that, of course, you've got many, many pages. Yeah, sí, yo lo sé. I do know. And even if I pick something quite simple, it's gonna, in order to get an interesting story, it's gonna wind up being something short. So, for this week, I am going to send you off with, I am going to apologize. Disculpen, excuse me. It will be a slightly depressing article, but it's interesting. Un artículo deprimido, sí, claro, pero interesante. I will be sending you off with an article to read, and it will be kind of an advanced article, but it's not, 30 pages. Ponse 4 páginas, algo así, something like that, okay? Es razonable, it's reasonable. Okay, y también quiero recomendarles, I want to recommend, if you has anyone finished the movie yet? The big El Tiempo Entre Costuras. Okay.
Sí, sí.
We can maybe take a few themes for talking next week. I would like to recommend something new if you have Amazon. Si tienen Amazon. If you've got Amazon, I would love to recommend this. Pueden ver, can you see this one? See?
Sí.
Okay. La Templanza, you
Wow.
will see it, however, listed as the vineyard. It will
Yeah.
be listed, which really La Templanza does not mean a vineyard. La Templanza quiere decir temperance. Temperance. It is the name for a vineyard, which is why they took this invented title of the vineyard. It is on Amazon. Amazon Prime, it does not require a special, special subscription of any type. But it is listed under the vineyard. And I will say, this is the same author as El Tiempo Entre Costuras. I will say, even my children saw the first episode and said, wow. My son, 26, said, I would watch this.
Dios mío.
Dios mío. What is the world coming to? So now, the reason this is actually kind of interesting is that actually the pace at which people speak is not so excessively fast that it's difficult to understand. You can quite easily follow. Of course, it has subtitles to bring up for you. But it is interesting in that when one character goes off to England and the other stays in Mexico or goes off to Mexico, they go with whatever the language of that person where they are.
Oh,
So when they're in England mode, Londres, you can ask for subtitles in Spanish. However, they keep it totally authentic to whatever environment the actor is in. It also has a very interesting juxtaposition of how these lives run, or how they run parallel. So the way it is filmed is very interesting. I do have to say, it is strikingly so. And it did surprise me because I thought this was going to be a hack job. I'll be honest with you. I went into this muy sarcástica. I was like, they're going to butcher this thing. They're going to butcher it. And I've not read the whole book yet, but of course now I have it. So, la recomiendo.
¿Cuándo ocurre la historia?
Empieza el trama, the plot. El trama comienza en el año 1851. 1851. Y entonces, muy rápidamente, avanzan la historia 20 años. 20 años. This story jumps around between España, Mexico, Cuba, Londres, and I don't know which other places it's going to jump around to next. But it has some extremely, and some things I did have to look up. I did not know how to say pool cue.
Who does?
Pool cue, a stick?
Pool. Eso es. ¿Por qué? No juego al billar. No juego al billar. Yo sé cómo se dice billar. Billar. I'm familiar with billar, billiards. But, you know, like all the little mechanisms that I was like, whoa, un momento, pauso. I got to pause this one. Like, ¿taco? ¿Serio? ¿En serio? ¿Taco? Taco como la comida. Así es, taco. Un taco. Así es. Y todavía no entiendo.
Qué curioso.
Qué curioso, ¿no? Ay, sí, qué curioso, claro. Entonces, es interesante. Se la recomiendo. I do recommend it to you. It is a wonderful listening experience.
No más cosa. Pantalla.
Sí.
The emails that you get after you unsubscribe, they're actually very good for Spanish. It's like, ¿cuándo que podrías ver lo que quieras? ¿Cuándo quieras? ¿Dónde quieras?
Sí, yeah.
Hoy día.
I have kept this. Yes, my husband does not know yet that this is going to be on for several months on our subscription list, but yeah. And actually there's a romantic comedy on there that Eve, if those of you who remember Eve had recommended, and I could not see it when it was in the theaters. And I have to go back and look up what it is, but I know it's on that list. So yeah, there are some very good flicks on there. So, okay. Eso es, nada más. Muy bien, nos vemos entonces la semana que viene, claro, ¿no? And we'll take another snippet, but a snippet to practice. Now that we're kind of in gear with this again, we'll have less explanation to do and more practice to do. Y eso es, that's it. Si quieren algo, especialmente durante esta sesión, esta temporada, entonces, claro, díganme, por favor. So, you know, please do tell me if there's something special you want to revisit. And we can absolutely do any of that as well. Bien?
Okay.
Fantástico. Okay, entonces nos vemos. We'll maybe wrap up a little bit with El Tiempo Entre Costuras next week as well, but I'll send out the article for you to watch, which will tie in more to that movie, by the way. So it will tie into the old movie a bit. Claro, magnífico. Que tengan buen fin de semana.
Gracias. Tenga buen fin de semana a usted.
Bien, gracias. Nos vemos.
Vemos.
No thanks.